This box is Lomography's newest camera. Well, actually it's the prototype of Lomography's newest camera, and it has the potential to be a very big deal. Whether it really is, we will find out today. And for me, it's also the first time shooting Instax, so stay tuned. Here we have it, the Lomography Instant Wide Glass Prototype. A bit run out, but it's also in early production, number 8. An instant camera that shoots the largest Instax film format, namely instaxwide. If you are sitting there thinking, hey, I've seen this camera before, you are actually right. It's basically a new version of the Lomo Instant Wide, but with a glass lens. I don't know if it was smart from Lomo to send a prototype camera to a YouTuber whose cameras, no matter the manufacturer, break within weeks. Viewers of this channel know what I mean, but here we are, I guess. Disclaimer. I got this camera provided by Lomography with a film and I don't get paid for this. And I also have to send this camera back to Lomography when I'm done. And Lomography will not see this video beforehand. So you will get my own unfiltered experience and opinion about this camera. Lomo also sent some testers' recommendations. Let's see. Portraits, studio. I'm doing my own thing now. Let's explore a little flea market under way too warm sunlight. First surprise, the film cartridge that was in the camera was empty. Okay, kommt nichts mehr raus. Let's load some new film. Okay, second attempt. Drum roll and yeah, underexposed. So lesson number 1, don't shoot against the sun even if the sun is very high. And the next one is also underexposed. Finally, the first good shot. Let's shoot this street scene. And unfortunately underexposed where I wanted to have detail. To be honest with you, I have zero experience with Instax, but I have a teeny tiny bit with Polaroid now. So this was my first time shooting Instax and it was surprisingly a big challenge for me. I'm going to focus mainly if this camera is fun to use or not, because that is the most important thing about an instant camera. The fun. Okay, here I wanted to focus on the sunflowers, but I definitely didn't manage to find the right focus point. And above all, I didn't get the framing right because of the viewfinder. I would describe the viewfinder on my prototype as unfinished. There's even a piece of plastic still hanging in there for close range focus. Since it was Oktoberfest in my city, I thought I'd take some great photos of the Ferris wheel. Since all the pictures were somehow underexposed, I thought my camera was broken, but it normalized with a second pack of Instax film. Maybe the film wasn't stored properly or Fuji had issues with the production. That's just how it is with film photography. But it's always really wonderful to watch the image develop and be curious about how it turned out. As you can see here, only one image from the first pack has the correct exposure. The biggest criticism the original version had was that the lens was, let's say, very dreamy. That's the nice way of saying it was blurry. However, the new version comes with a 90mm f8 lens with 6 elements in 6 groups. So the same focal length and aperture as the plastic version, just with high quality glass. Since the new Fujifilm 400 no longer has a glass lens, this is Lomography's chance to shine with quality. And with a price tag of 279 euros or 279 freedom money, it's also not that expensive. This glass lens has definitely an edge over its plastic counterpart. It's really sharp and it has a really good scratch resistance. I photographed the Instax pictures with 60 megapixels, so we can see all the details. Because I still thought the camera was to blame, I took a test shot with the ND filter. But of course it was overexposed. Okay, round number 2. Here's another test shot with ND filter. By the way, the light meter's up there, so you can at least help out a bit if it gets too dark. For some reason the Instax film was really stuck in there. I had to use a lot of force to get it out, however that only happened once. And overexposed because of the ND. Finally, a normal exposed image. I think the best use for Instax is high contrast scenes, if you get the framing right. The color combination of this camera reminds me of Grandpa's old briefcase, to which someone has attached a lens and a viewfinder. Not the most appealing, I think. And this is unfortunately the only color option right now, and I hope Lomo will release this one in new colors like black or all white, which I would prefer. When you look at the size of this camera, you would assume that it's actually very heavy. But it's not, because this thing is actually hollow. So it only weighs around 900 grams, which is, I think, very good for a camera this size. Okay, let's quickly head back to the fair to see if the exposure really improved. And yes, I think it's way better now. I accidentally used flash for the sunflower. Looks really creepy somehow. I happened to get the framing right there, but I missed the focus. Still, I like the photo. What is not so good is the viewfinder, but I think that's mainly because this is a prototype camera. I would simply describe it as unfinished. In general, the viewfinder is the reason I never fell in love with instant cameras. It's just too imprecise and I can't frame like I want to. And it's the same with this camera. I just don't like this viewfinder, but it's also a prototype, so I think you have to test yourself if you like this one or not. And seriously, who the hell thought that the viewfinder on the left side is a good idea? If you hold your camera with your right hand, you have to press your face into your thumb, and it's really awkward. Especially when you have so much real estate on the right side. See? No problem. If you know why this is, then please tell me in the comments. It makes no sense to me. And yes, I know Fujifilm makes the same thing with their instant cameras, but it doesn't make it less uncomfortable, I think. Let's see how the camera performs with portraits and flash. Here's a picture of my good friend who's about to go on stage in a moment. Another friend happened to stop by and agreed to let me take a few photos of him as well. And messed up the frame. Unfortunately, the flash isn't really suitable for full body shots. Okay, let's head right to the dance floor and take some photos in the middle of a concert. 1/3 theme isn't bad, but framing with this tricky viewfinder is really frustrating. By the way, the music you hear in the background is by I Neon, who is currently on stage. You can find the Spotify link in the video description. The photos are slowly but steadily getting better. I thought I would try out the bulb mode with the flash now for some direct-to-shutter shots. I was just surprised when the flash didn't go off at the beginning, but only when I released the shutter. But now we come to the best shot of the evening. It only took 8 shots. Finally, the exposure, framing and focus are alright. You can believe me when I say that you will burn through a whole pack of Instax just to get a decent shot in the beginning. So, the Instax pack is empty, let's move to the next one. The size is definitely a challenge when it comes to ergonomics. You actually have to hold it in both hands, but I think for a camera this size this is okay. The camera barely fits into a PIC Design 6L sling bag, along with 2 packs of 10 sheets of film. The shutter button is on a good spot, I think, for vertical and horizontal shooting, but I don't like this edge here. My hand just don't know what to do with it. When you grab it here, it's too short. When you grab it here, you can't hold it right. I don't know. I would prefer if they just extend this round corner all to the edge so you can hold it more comfortable. That would be really nice. However, the buttons are really well done. They are all very clicky. And the zone focus on the lens is really good. It just feels very nice. Let's come to the handling of this camera. We have a zone focusing system with 4 zones: infinity, 1 to 2 meters, 0.6 meters and 0.3 meters. I really don't know why it is 1 to 2 meters, like is it 1 meter or 2 meter or 1.5? Huh? Yeah. I need to clarify this. After the exciting concert, we're heading outside for some night photography. As you can see, with f8 and ISO 800, the exposure should be around 2 seconds. Yeah, wrong. The great thing about Instax is that you will get the result relatively quickly. The downside is, like me, you already moved to the next spot. I choose 6 seconds here because 8 seemed quite a lot, since I also increased the ISO on the light meter to 400. Yeah, thank you, wrong again. Fortunately, I waited and took another shot. This time 10 seconds. To get some juicy light trails from the train. Yes, finally a good image. After I got my weird photography face under control, I thought 10 seconds would be good. Yeah, more like nuclear explosion. The light tray image took some time, and I shot the current image again with 2 seconds. Yeah, much better. Lomography wouldn't be lomography if they wouldn't throw in a bunch of extra features for your creativity. For instance, there's a flash and extra color gels, but I don't have them because this is a prototype. And there's the multi-exposure mode, and they throw in an extra, namely this one here. It's, can you see it? It's a splicer. So if you have the multi-exposure mode enabled, you can only expose 1/2 of the image, then rotate the thing and expose the other half of the frame. The camera's exposure is fully automatic, so you can't manually choose the aperture or shutter speed. You can only influence the automatic exposure with the plus and -1 button. There's also a window for the frame count and one that shows if film is loaded or not. And there is also a bulb mode. A bulb mode for long exposures, an f 22 mode for maximum depth of field and a 130 mode for dragging shutter and when you are using the flash. And of course you can always turn the flash off, which is my favorite feature. The camera even has this lens cap, which is a remote control for instant picture and self-timer, which is pretty cool. Let's head out to take the last few shots. Have I mentioned that I really don't like these kinds of events? Too many people. And half of them are drunk too. I exposed the bulb mode as short as possible. Unfortunately, that was already too long. Nuclear explosion number 2. The lights were so bright that they actually inverted. 1/30th of a second is much better. With that shot I wanted to see if the auto mode works in low light. And yes, it works pretty well. Last photo for the day in auto mode. I would say it turned out very well. So, if you have any questions about this camera, then feel free to ask me. Maybe I can answer them. Otherwise you have to ask Lomo on Instagram or something like that. Would I recommend this camera? If you're searching for an instaxwide camera with really good sharpness, then this lens is probably the best you can get right now. The camera is solid, it feels good, the buttons are clicky, it makes fun to use this camera, but I really don't like this viewfinder. But if you experience with using Polaroids and other Instax cameras, which have also a viewfinder that is off to the side, I think I can recommend it to you. But Instax is just not for me, I think. But I think I'm more the type of guy of more expensive instant cameras like the SX70 with the SLR function, where I can clearly see what I'm shooting. I am a perfectionist and I want more control over my exposure, especially with Instax, which has 0 dynamic range. Yeah. Until the next time, guys, I send this one back and I say bye.